1965 and went to Widnes Technical College. I was there for 12 months, and then I started work at the Co-op in the summer of 1966, and I worked in the furnishing and hardware department at the Co-op till I was 18. It had always been my intention to work on the buses I wanted to be a long-distance coach driver more than anything. But I ended up as a bus conductor in 1968. I started on the buses. My father was already a bus driver, a local bus driver, but he had no wish to go long distance. But I really enjoyed my time as a bus conductor, and I would still have been there now if they still had them.
Did you find that you got some awkward customers?
Oh yeah, you always got awkward, but 9 times out of 10 the customers were great. We worked on the double-deckers, and most of the customers were friendly, especially if I found that with the children and that, and people getting on with children, if you could make the children laugh, you got on a lot better with the parents especially. Most of the passengers were all right, but occasionally if you were a bit, I suppose they'd say these days, pedantic, like I was, if somebody got on the bus with a £10 note, when the fare was only a few pennies, I would always try to make sure I had the change to give them, because it was obvious that they didn't want to pay. So I always tried to make sure I had the change. It wasn't just working on the buses. At Christmas time, in those days, you worked Christmas Day, but at the time I'd started on the buses, there was only 4 hours. You worked 4 hours and got double time. I didn't mind working Christmas Day. I was single, and my father didn't mind working, and it was only 4 hours, so we still had time to see the family and that on Christmas Day and enjoy the normal festivities.
Did you stay on the same route? Or?
In those days, you had what they call the running board, and that gave you all the trips that you did that day. In those days, they were all local. Widnes buses didn't go to Liverpool or anything like they do now. But,
did you cross the bridge?
Yeah, occasionally. There was one bus that went past our house. If there was no one on the bus, we'd stop for 5 minutes and just nip home for a cup of tea or something like that.
Did you have to work late at night, or what were the shifts like?
It wasn't normal shifts like 6 to 2:10 and nights. It was shifts. Occasionally you'd be up at 4 o'clock in the morning to start work at 5 and go to the very first bus ran empty all the way to Huyton to bring workers from Huyton into the Everite. But that was the nearest we got to Liverpool in those days. It was the Eagle and Child at Huyton. We'd bring the workers in to the Everite Works and the Chris factory at Widnes for workers on the 6-2 shift. And then there'd be an afternoon trip where we'd take the workers home again, the 6-2 workers, and bring the later shift workers in from... it'd be the other way around actually. We'd take or maybe it was both ways, I don't know. But even when I started on the buses, the miners' buses, the colliery buses, were all done by single-deckers, even when I was there. So we never got to do the miners' buses because that was all... They didn't need a conductor because the coal board paid for the buses, so they didn't need a conductor on them at that time. I say it went on like that till 1979, I think it was, came round, and they were doing away with conductors. The service was going all one-man operated. They then put me in the garage temporarily while I learned to drive. I was supposed to be learning to drive. I could have learned to drive from 1971, but I was in and out of the driving school. I just couldn't get the hang of it. But I had to try in 1979. And then eventually in 1980, I think it was, I eventually went in for my test. At that time they were taking the test in Liverpool city centre. I just went all to pieces trying to drive a bus through Liverpool, a double-decker as well, through Liverpool city centre. Before I even got to the city centre, they had to take me off the bus, and that's when I failed my test. And I went to work in another department of the corporation where I was only there for 12 months, but I just didn't take to it in the end, and that was the end of my career on the corporation.